Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to yet another special Netflix versus cinema. This one is all about our Oscar reaction because the Oscars happened this last week. If you listened to the show last week, you know I was speaking to our London correspondent Holly, who was attempting to watch every single film on the Oscar roster before she actually got to, before the ceremony happened. First of all, I should... Yeah, I know, she was. Anyway, okay, I'm going all over the place. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tosin. I am your host. I live up in Coventry in the Midlands. And joining me on the Isle of Wight tonight is Sharon.
Hello.
Yes, Sharon, because Shaun is still somewhere in the States and we've seen one picture of the Statue of Liberty, right? That's all we've had.
So we know that he has been in New York, but wasn't he heading for the West Coast as well? So
yeah, carry on.
I don't know which coast he's on. I wasn't sure which coast he's currently on, whether he is still East Coast or whether he was headed west.
Oh, I don't even know if because there's a bit of me that thinks that he's supposed to already be back in the country. So it's all a bit kind of like, well, where is Shaun? We could make like a
Where
game,
is he? Yeah.
like a Where's Wally, but a Where's Shaun, to try and figure out where he's gone to. Yes. So, yes, Sharon, myself, Tosin, we're here, and we were talking about last week where Holly was, her and her film watching friend Steph. So, who I've taken to calling the Steph of legend because we keep hearing about Steph, but we haven't contacted her. We haven't had any contact with Steph. All we have is just what Holly tells us about Steph. We're not saying that Steph doesn't exist. We're just saying she's the Steph of legend. And so they were attempting to watch every single thing before the Oscar ceremony. And I think by last weekend they only had 3 films left.
Crikey.
Yeah, but last week they only had 3 films left. So at some point we're gonna have to find out what Holly actually thought about the final thing, what she actually thought about it. But this is left. So this week we're just going to have a reaction to what we saw on it, which means that it should be a shorter show. But then again, I have said that before in the past, and 3 hours later we finally gotten off the phone. So
yeah.
So right. Oscars. These are the big babies, and okay, we're called Netflix of Cinema. We had some things from Netflix that were going up for awards this year, like The Irishman, and but I think
Marriage Story.
Yep, Marriage Story. That's another Netflix thing that made it it into the list. I think those are the Two Popes. The Two Popes was up for.
Yes, that had a lot of actor nods, didn't it?
Yeah, the Two Popes was up for stuff as well. Let's see, looking down the list. I think those are the 3 main ones. Was The Irishman, Marriage Story, and The Two Popes.
A few of them I haven't actually heard of. The Antonio Banderas film, Pain and Glory.
Pain and
I don't
Glory.
know that one at all.
Yeah, that was a Pedro Almodovar movie. Yeah, so it's a Spanish movie, and Pedro Almodovar, he tends to be like the stuff he makes is art house. It's seen as art house. It very rarely gets a wide release. I think there was a period where Penelope Cruz was like, the hottest actress in the world at that time. And so so when she was in a Almodovar movie, it got a wide release. But I think at the moment it's gone that. But this apparently is quite a autobiographical film, but apparently Antonio Banderas is amazing in it. So yeah, we'll see. Let's see. What else do we have? We have. It turns out that I actually know somebody who was involved in an Oscar and a BAFTA winner. I used to.
Oh.
Yes.
1917?
No, not 1917.
Oh, then you had an Oscar. You had an extras friend who was in that, didn't you?
Oh yes, I do. Yeah. I've got a friend who I was in the Full Monty with in Portsmouth, who ended up as an extra in 1917. But there was a film that was nominated and won the Oscar and the BAFTA for Best Documentary Short Subject, called "Learning to Skateboard in a War Zone" in brackets if you're a girl. And
okay, I've seen the clips about that.
I know nothing about it. Now this is part of the thing that I get about Oscars. is there's a whole bunch of, so there's the big things that are going to be in cinema, which you actually have a chance of watching, or the things that are going to be on Netflix, which you have a chance of watching. And, but I have no idea, where do you watch the documentary short subject films, the short films? Where do you watch them? The animated short films, the live action short films. Where do you actually watch these films? Because, I mean, I'm guessing they'll be shown at film festivals. I'm guessing that for some sort of thing for Oscars, they have to qualify, they have to have been in a cinema at some point. But it's not as if you have, it's not as if you go to the cinema to see a short film. So there's all these films.
No, and they don't do the shorts before the main feature anymore, do they? That's just not a thing. Whereas they always used to.
Yeah, they don't do that. And And so I'm actually, because as I said, my friend Elena, and oh good Lord, I'm going to attempt her last name because it is, I believe, of Ukrainian origin. So I think it's Andriacheva. Okay. Yeah, Elena Andriacheva. So she was involved in it, and I know she'd been posting about it for a while. And then because obviously I couldn't find anywhere to watch the film, then the film starts winning awards, and I'm like, wait, hang on, this must be good. this must be good. Oh my God, where can I watch it? I don't know. I can't find it anywhere. So it's yeah. Anyway, I'll see if she's not too big time. It'll be good to see if I can actually interview her and say, where do you watch these things? So,
tell us about this one, please.
Tell us about it. Tell us about how we can watch the stuff that you make, because apparently it's really good, but we can't say it anywhere.
Bring back the small feature before the main event at the cinema. Then we can see these things instead of 25 minutes of trailers. Let's just watch a short film.
I actually arrive half an hour after they tell me the film's going to start. And if I miss the first 3 minutes, so be it. So
yeah. I think there's sense that I never, ever go in on the time it says, the film starts at this time. I never go in then.
Yeah.
I normally go in within like the quarter of an hour after that, because part of me is thinking I might want to see one or two trailers, but then by the time you've sat through 5 and you said to afterwards, what were the trailers about again? You've forgotten.
Yeah,
what you've just seen.
For me, it's even the fact that you have the adverts.
Yes,
and then you have the trailers.
Like, why?
So you have this sort of trailer sandwich where you have advert, trailer, advert. Then maybe we'll let you watch the film you actually came here to see. So it's
yes,
yeah,
it's too much.
Okay, so shall we kick off and actually start talking about the Oscars and talking about so let's kick off pretty much in reverse order. So we'll go from the most important one and then go down that way. So we'll kick off with Best Picture, which is the big one. And so just to remind, if anybody doesn't know, the films that were up for this were Parasite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, 1917, Marriage Story, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, and Ford versus Ferrari. Now, when you saw this list originally, what did you think?
I thought, I don't know all of those films for a start. I've seen about half of them at the cinema, and some of them I thought that was just a Netflix thing. I didn't know it had a cinema release at all.
Yeah.
And yes, and I thought in years gone by that you only had like 4 or 5 nominations. There seemed to be an awful lot of nominations.
Yeah, they increased it to up till 10 a couple of years back, so that more films could be recognized. But it's a bit rubbish because, quite frankly, only the winner of Best Picture is going to be very, very weird if the winner of Best Picture does not come from a film that has been nominated for Best Director, for instance, which only has 5.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I can't remember whether Green Book was nominated for Best Director or not. I think it actually was, but it will be really, really weird. So essentially, there's 5 films in that Best Picture list, which you're like, well, they don't have a chance. So
yeah,
there's like, oh, it's like, oh, well done for trying. Look at you making a film.
Yeah, they're like Miss Padding, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we'll give you a pat on the back, but don't even bother turning up.
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, oh my God, looking at this list, I'm just realizing this is the first year where I have seen every single Best Picture nominee.
Crikey.
Yeah, I have seen all of those films. I feel so proud with myself.
Yes, I'm looking down. I have seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them.
All right. So you kept with the old school. Look, there's supposed to be 5 movies.
That's
so,
all I'm watching.
So I'm going to watch the 5 that I think have the best chance, and those are the ones I'm going to watch. So before the ceremony, what did you think about this? What did you think was going to win?
I thought that 1917 would just take it.
Yeah.
Myself, but I thought it would be down to 1917 or Parasite.
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't think the others would be in for much of a chance. I thought they were the 2 front runners, and all the others I would regard as outsiders. And I thought 1917 might just pip it. But then I think in the last couple of weeks, the buzz about Parasite has been growing.
Yeah.
I think quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I think as well, I don't want to be cynical about this, but part of me is thinking there's been a lot of pressure about, as we've discussed before, about diversity and about how they tend to vote, white middle-aged men tend to vote for white middle-aged films, as it were.
Yeah.
And so but I was thinking there's been almost like a backlash against that. I think that gave a boost to Parasite, because they're saying, hey, look at us. We're not these narrow-minded, people you think we are. We're going to embrace a foreign language film as our best picture.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought I might be cynical, but I think there might have been an element of that in there. But I haven't seen Parasite. But I gather from your review and from Shaunie's review that that it is a well-regarded film, and it's very well made, with lots of twists and turns, and it takes you by surprise.
Yep.
So I don't think it's an unworthy winner, but it's not the one I was expecting.
Yeah, Parasite is an excellent film. It really, really is. And I did think, for me, I thought it's a straight fight between 1917 and Parasite. That was those were the 2 films on that list that I was like, if one of them won, I would be happy with that, because I do think that they were the best films on the list. I was like, one of them wins, I'm happy with that. And I did think 1917 would get it because, A, it's a war movie. And those tend to do well. Big prestige war movies tend to do well at the Oscars. Yes. And I thought Parasite was, okay, cool, you're giving it a nod. I mean, and when I look at it, I think I personally wanted 1917 to win. But I have to think, I do think Parasite, I do think it's the right answer. I think it's the right result. It is the right result at the end of it. They're 2 very, very different films. They're 2 very different films that affect you in a different way. They're both masterfully made. And I think I would just about, and that was probably the big shock, if you want. But I think the same thing as you, in the run up to the week before the Oscars, Parasite was everywhere. Like, like, as Claudia, when I told Claudia this, Claudia was like, "Oh, you mean like a parasite?" But
yeah.
And Parasite was everywhere, and you couldn't move on social media for all the 5-star reviews for everything that was going. "Ooh, Parasite! Ooh, watch this film! Ooh!" And it made me think, hang on a second. And so it run up to the Oscars, I was like, I'm beginning to feel like somebody knows something, and they're pushing this thing so that push. Then when it wins the Oscar, everybody's like, "Oh my God, I need to go see this film!" And guess what? It's available. And sure enough, after the Oscars, Parasite has been put on a wider UK release.
Yes, it suddenly reappeared on the island again. It's there.
Yeah,
and with more than just one showing in the middle of the afternoon for the for the silver pound people. Yeah. It's like they're even stuff after working hours. So it's like they've gone for it in a big way.
Yeah, and that was the thing, because running up to the Oscars, I remember going to bed, because obviously being in the UK. Unless you're a glutton for punishment, who's going to actually watch the Oscars? I did that once, and I thought, no, it wasn't worth it. So
I've never. I think no, I've never seen it live. I think once I watched it when I was a child, because it was just like it was on in the afternoon, and I sort of sat and watched it.
Yeah.
I think they must have recorded it and then they showed the whole thing.
Yeah.
But this was a long time ago, because I was waiting for E.T. to be nominated, and I was thinking, why haven't they nominated E.T.? And it wasn't mentioned once, and yet it was like the biggest film of the entire year, and that was the first time I actually noticed the Oscars, because I just had that connect between what was popular and actually what gets nominated.
Yeah.
And ever since, it's like not necessarily the most popular film of the year will actually get mentioned in the Oscars. Because I remember as a child just thinking, why aren't they talking about E.T.? Because surely that's the best film of the year. But they didn't mention it. So that's my first sort of acknowledgement that the Oscars actually exist. And that was 1981, 82 or something.
Yeah. but when I went to bed, I went to bed and I was just thinking, and when I woke up the next morning and you get your alerts on your phone that says all, and I wasn't surprised that Parasite won. I was like, yeah, I kind of felt this was coming. I felt this is coming. That it just built up this head of steam building up to the Oscars, and I still can't believe I saw this film that early, because I feel like everybody's going, oh my God, Parasite, amazing. I just saw Parasite. And I'm like, yeah, I saw it like 4 months ago. I was like, you mean, oh, cool. Okay, good. Yeah. I guess it is a good film. I guess it is. So, so Parasite, worthy winner. And I think the director, Bong Joon-ho, the director, he's quite cute, because Parasite won 4 Oscars, and there's a picture online of him holding 2 of his Oscar statuettes, and he has this sort of like cheeky little sort of smile on his face, and he's making them kiss.
Oh,
yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, no, he's good. Yeah, he seems like fun. He seems like fun, and so yeah. Parasite, that was the big shock of the night, so to say, because I think that was probably the only category where there was a little bit of a fight. There was a little bit of a fight over who was going to get this. So if we go from there, we're going to the actor roles. So let's start off with Best Actress in a Leading Role. Now, this was Renée Zellweger for Judy.
Yeah, for Judy.
Yeah, was nominated. Charlize Theron for Bombshell, Scarlett Johansson, Marriage Story, Saoirse Ronan, Little Women, Cynthia Erivo for Harriet. I think of all these films, Harriet is the only one I haven't seen, because that had a blink and you miss it thing in the cinemas here.
Yeah.
That's if it was released in the cinemas. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember it ever coming to the island. I just didn't see it at all.
I didn't see it in cinemas. Full stop. I think it might be on Prime or Amazon Prime or something like that. But Cynthia Erivo was.
I can have a look. Yeah.
Cynthia Erivo it was well publicized that she was the only non-white person to be nominated for an acting award out of the whole thing. And okay, now tell me what you think about this, because I haven't seen Judy. You saw Judy, and I remember at the time when we reviewed Judy, people were going, "Oh my God, Renée Zellweger for the award!" But that was probably about 6 months ago, before the actual ceremony for the Oscars.
Yeah,
and I asked you whether you thought that it was up for an Oscar. I think you said it's a good performance, but you didn't think it would get it.
Yes, I mean, at the time, I distinctly remember as well saying, yeah, she's definitely going to get nominated for it, because it's that sort of role, but I didn't think she'd win.
Yeah.
But I can understand why she was nominated for it, because it's Judy Garland, and it's that
she is Hollywood's darling.
Yeah, and it is about Hollywood, even though it's like she was sort of in exile, basically, because Hollywood wouldn't employ her at that time.
Yeah.
Because of the way she was disintegrating. She was the product of Hollywood, and Hollywood destroyed her, and so she was in exile, and she had this sort of like mini renaissance before her sort of the end of her life in London. It's sort of a story that Hollywood likes, doesn't it? It likes to sort of look after its own, as it were.
It likes stories about itself.
Yes. So I thought, now I'm not surprised it won it, but to me, there's elements about her performance that I liked, but to me, it wasn't quite Judy. I mean, if you see some of sort of Judy Garland's later roles, then to me, it wasn't quite right. But yeah, I can understand how Hollywood would sort of certainly love it. But thinking of the other roles on there, the other actresses, yes, I would probably say, that was the most sort of performance, because a lot of, they do like the ones where people do the crying and the screaming and the emoting, don't they?
Look at me, I'm acting. Look at the acting.
Yes. They like you to earn your award, so they don't tend to reward subtlety.
Yeah.
So I can understand how, they like this. Look at me, I'm being Judy.
Yeah.
So I think Jane Horrocks is like would probably be the perfect Judy, but that's not the sort of role that she would be cast in.
I love that. I know. I totally see what you mean. I totally see what you mean. Jane Horrocks is Judy. Give her an Oscar.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Charlize Theron was really good in Bombshell. But again, what you said, I think it's about subtlety, and I've begun to realize that I actually really I'm beginning to appreciate the subtle performances. Like, I recently saw Can You Ever Forgive Me, which was up for Oscars last year. And I saw it in the run-up to this year's Oscars. And seeing Melissa McCarthy in that film, I was like, oh my God, she's amazing in that film. But it's a very subtle performance, which is very different from the usual stuff you will expect from Melissa McCarthy. And it's I really, really like the performance, and I compared it to something like we're going to get into Best Actor in Leading Role in a second, like Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, which is, it's kind of like the more, I'm acting, look at it, yes. I'm acting, and I was like, man, I want love for the subtle performances that actually so like, look like humans. But I'll say
the
one
ones
thing.
where you don't think they're acting, you think, oh, they're just being themselves. Because I remember watching a performance by an interview actually with Hugh Grant, and they were saying to him, this role is quite different to your normal roles, and this is quite different to you. And he was saying, oh yeah, that's acting. And I think it's only now when you see him taking more diverse roles that you realise he does actually act.
Yeah.
And it's because he's done this sort of like the hammy English acting thing for so long. You forget that there is subtlety in there, that he does actually have a craft. And I think it's the ones that are the subtlety is like, I think it's a real craft, because they become a real person. You forget that this is an actor putting a role on, and you think, oh, they're just playing themselves. And it's like, well, no, they're not. They're just inhabiting this character. So their every gesture and their phrasing is not, I'm not saying someone else's lines. These are the lines that I would say, because this is what I'm thinking, and this is what my mental process is like coming out of my performance. So you can see, I think the subtle is where the real craft is, whereas we tend to the big hitters is what tends to be the ones that get the nods. That
give you that Oscar moment, that you can have the grandstanding moment. I think because Johansson is really good in Marriage Story, mega like what we're talking about, subtlety, really subtle. Now Saoirse Ronan in Little Women, I'd like to get your take on this, because I look at this and I look at the performance. I liked Little Women. I really, really like Saoirse Ronan. But when I looked at the performance, I don't look at it and think, oh yeah, Best Actress, like put that thing up for an award. And it's almost as if, how you were saying a little bit about was it you were talking about, was it Parasite or something else like that, it's like we'll just give it to something because like people saying, oh, we're going to vote for that because to show that we don't have a diversity problem. So with Little Women, I feel like almost as if Little Women became this lightning rod film for, oh my God, why are we not recognizing films that are about women, that are directed by women and all that? They still didn't get a directing Oscar for or a nomination for directing, but I feel like almost. I honestly feel.
But it got the nomination for the Best Picture, so you normally find they tend to go hand in hand, don't they? But a few times in recent years they have done that disconnect between a Best Picture and the Best Director. And you think, well, aren't they sort of inextricably linked in many ways? But they do have that disconnect.
Yeah, they do. But the thing is, like the Saoirse Ronan nomination for Best Actress, there's a bit of me, and I just have this niggle in my mind that I feel like it's more for what the role stands for and what the film stands for than it is for her actual performance, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I don't feel like the performance was... It felt like the kind of thing she can do in her sleep. Now, maybe that means that she's been so good for so long that the things that she can do in her sleep I now take for granted. But it didn't particularly feel like, oh, I would list that in my top 5 performances of the year.
No, I think she was perfectly competent in it, as she is, and I think, as you say, her craft is such that she can carry a role like that without any trouble. But no, I wouldn't have said it was outstanding in any way. But it was good. But I wouldn't say it was particularly outstanding.
Okay, cool.
And likewise with Florence Pugh, I liked Florence Pugh as Amy. I thought she took a little and made a lot of it, and made much of a role, because normally Amy is just like that. She's a silly little sister, and then she becomes the sort of flighty
evil
one who ends up with Laurie. So she's made, I think she turned sort of Amy into one of the lesser sisters, into, vying for top spot there. So I think she did well with that. As of the two performances, you think, she's the more attention grabbing one, was Florence Pugh as Amy.
Yeah, well, if I've because I feel like a lot of people, when they've spoken to me about Little Women, they've spoken about, oh my God, what she's done with Amy. Amy just isn't an idiot anymore. And it's like, you actually feel like some sympathy for Amy. And I guess that is acting, if you can do that. So yeah, okay, maybe. But it wasn't one that straight off the bat blew me away. Okay, now, best actor in a leading role. Now this...
Yeah, Joaquin
Phoenix for Joker. This was decided ages ago. So you had Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, Adam Driver in Marriage Story, Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I have to say, I did say that I do think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is Leonardo DiCaprio's best performance ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is hands down his best performance of his career because, well, apart from maybe What It Can Gilbert Grape. But I always say that a lot of the times I can see Leonardo DiCaprio giving a performance. But in this one, I just saw Rick Dalton, his character. I just thought it was great. Okay.
Yeah, it felt less calculated than some of his choices he's done before.
Yes.
But I think in his maturity, I think he's maturing as a man and he's maturing as an actor. And I think you can see it
in his work.
In his work, yeah. Because I was one of these people who, because I just did not buy into the whole Titanic thing, I've really sort of largely ignored him over the last sort of 20 years. And so it's only now that he's, I think probably since The Great Gatsby, that I've actually started to notice him again, thinking, oh yeah, actually Leonardo DiCaprio, he is actually maturing into an actor who I think has got longevity. I think he's been around a long time, but I can see him as one of the few actors, who you will see him in sort of middle age, and then as an older actor, I can see his career going on for another, sort of 30 years.
Yeah,
whereas some actors you think, I think so, and I think as some actors you think when their looks begin to go, that you won't see them anymore. But I think with him, I think he's going to keep. I think he'll keep going, and he'll just move into those older roles as he gets older. Whereas there's some actors, that they'll be everyone's darling, and then they will just disappear when they sort of hit 40.
In 30 years' time, he's going to be taking all the Clint Eastwood roles.
Yeah, I can see it. I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's what I would predict that for him.
Yeah,
I think Brad Pitt is turning into the Robert Redford. I think one day soon he'll be directing his own films of sensitivity and depth, and then you'll think, "Whoa, this was the pretty boy."
well, you've heard of Shaun's theory, right?
Yeah.
Shaun's theory that Shaun is convinced that Brad Pitt is Robert Redford's son.
Yeah.
Shaun is convinced. And I think it's ever since Moneyball, he's been like, oh my God, he looks like Robert Redford. He's like, no. He's like, no, there's got to be something here. Mrs. Pitt was playing away, I'm sure of it. But, okay, so we had Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory, Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes. Now, Adam Driver, Marriage Story, I have to say, this was the first film that I watched and I actually thought, ooh, now I get what the fuss about Adam Driver's about. Because for ages, I mean, whenever people always, he was one of these people that who just sort of say, Adam Driver, and I watch him and be like, oh, I don't know, I don't get it. But this film I watched and I was like, okay, no, now I get it. Yeah.
I'm still in that I'm not quite there yet place, but then I haven't seen Marriage Story, so in my head I'm thinking, is it just Kramer versus Kramer all over again? But then I haven't seen it, so I think I probably haven't looked into it enough, because I just heard the title and I was like going, I don't know if that was something I could want to watch.
It's very. I think I haven't seen Kramer versus Kramer, never seen it. But from what I've heard of Kramer versus Kramer, I think Marriage Story is a lot less fighty. It's a lot less It's a lot more human. It's a lot less antagonistic. And it's
like the slow disintegration of a marriage rather than an explosion of a marriage.
It has both. It has it's, and this is something that I find myself saying a lot recently. It's very human. So it's kind of like, I think I was listening to bits of my review recently of that, and I said that the thing with Marriage Story is that it's something that a lot of people have gone through, and a lot of people will relate to what it is. I think it's probably less sensationalist than Kramer versus Kramer was, because Kramer versus Kramer was like, oh, this one big thing, she's gone away, she's come back, she want a kid, and it's but this is a lot more just kind of I think when it says Marriage Story, even though it's about a couple breaking up, I think it's aptly titled. And yeah, and okay, cool. We should move on. But
yeah. So, what did you think of Joaquin's Phoenix's performance as Joker? Do you think that is a worthy Best Actor?
I think it's a very good performance. My problem is I didn't really like the film. So I feel like it's a really good performance in a film that was not that deserving, which kind of bears out. It was nominated for the most awards. I think it only got 2, so Best Actor and Best Score, which was held again as another triumph of the night, because it was like, it's like one of these things where it's like less than 10. It might be less than 5. It might be the like, you know, it could be the third time that a woman has won for Best Composer at the Oscars. Yeah. So I know it's some low number, but yeah. So I think it will always be colored by the fact that I did not really enjoy the film. I think like too much hype has been made about the film, and everybody jumping up and like, oh my god, Joker, best film of the year. I'm like, I don't agree with that. No, this film doesn't say anything. It doesn't say. So it's a very good performance. I'll give you that. But it is the kind of performance that I feel it's very, very showy. You cannot fault his dedication. But if I had to choose, I would probably have rather given it to probably anybody else in that list.
All right.
if I was voting, I probably would not have gone for that. If I had to pressure, I think I might have gone for Leonardo DiCaprio. But then again, I haven't seen The Two Popes of Pain and Glory. But of the ones I've seen,
no, I haven't seen all of them.
I would definitely would have gone for Adam Driver above it. I would have gone for Leonardo DiCaprio above it. But it had built so much momentum, and he had won every single award going. So yeah, why not? Let's just follow like sheep and say, oh, we thought it was great, because he had the scene where you could see the fact that he starved himself for this role. What dedication! Give him an Oscar. But that sounds reductionist, and that is disrespectful. I'll hold my hand up. That is disrespectful. But I would have given it to something else. All right, Best Director. Bong Joon-ho, him again, Parasite. Yeah. He won it. But we also had Martin Scorsese for The Irishman, Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Sam Mendes for 1917, Todd Phillips for Joker. But so yeah, this, I thought Sam Mendes was going to get it, because and even after seeing Parasite and seeing, I would probably have gone for 1917, because I think just as an achievement of the film that he put together, it's crazy what he had to marshal to get everything to work. Yeah. Yes. He is like the conductor of an orchestra, wasn't he? Because there's so many things to draw together to make that good, get that perfect sound, as it were, if you're using the orchestra analogy. Yeah. So yeah, he did draw all those bits in to make this really accomplished work. And I think the fact that it didn't become like a sort of the cameo of the moment thing, it wasn't. Yeah. Because it's so easy when you get famous actors, it becomes almost episodic. Yeah. And it's like, oh, there's that bit with them and there's that bit with them. But there was this sort of the story, the thread running through it all. You know, you didn't lose sight of that, even though you had these suddenly very famous faces are popping up at different points. Their story wasn't about them. They sort of added to the story. So yeah, I thought he mastered that sort of the whole thing, sort of superbly. Yeah, I really think so. And I think he was he would have been a worthy winner. Yeah. So obviously Parasite built ahead of the scene, but for me, I would have gone for 1917. Like if we were Academy voters, like, in the future when we've made our own films and we've been invited to join the Academy, we will vote for 1917 for Sam Mendes. What do you? And aside that, I know we sort of go down our rabbit holes every now and then. Yes. But what do you think about the requirement that some people think that people who vote should actually watch every single film that's been nominated, because that there's no requirement for people who can vote to actually watch the films? I think you have to. I think it's I don't understand how you can. They give you a short list of 5 things and they say, out of these 5 things, which one's the best? And you go, well, I've only seen that one, so I'm going to vote for that one. That's stupid. And I think, but there's no requirement though, is there, for any of these academies for their members to demonstrate or to show that they've actually seen all of the films nominated. So it just seems a little bit extraordinary that they put a lot of prestige on the winner when
probably only a proportion of the people who voted actually have seen
Yeah,
all the nominees.
I've actually seen the film. I know they used to have viewings, so they would have a screening of the film, and to vote for the Oscars, you had to have attended those screenings to be eligible to vote.
That makes more sense, doesn't it?
Yes, the problem is that that's pretty time consuming. So what they started doing is that they started sending out Oscar screeners. And I remember when I was in LA, this was in 2005. Because obviously everybody in LA is one way or another is trying to get into the film industry, and there was somebody there who was working as an assistant for an actor who was part of the Academy, and so so we went out to his house, and he had been given all these Oscar-nominated movies as screeners, and they send them out on DVD, and they'll send them to all the nominees and say, please watch this and then vote. And they assume that once they've sent you the DVD, you've watched it.
You watch it, yes.
But
so he got his assistant to watch them.
well, I think there was some he didn't even watch, and he just gave them to he just gave them to his assistant. Was like, yeah, take these. And so we went around this guy's house. I just had an Oscar binge, and you're watching the film, and then every now and then across the screen the words will come, for Oscar screening purposes only, and it will float across the screen from right to left, and I will leave you to keep watching the film. And and as I said, as I've grown older, a bit like you sitting down going, hang on, where's E.T.? And you start realizing that there is some politics involved in this, and there's an issue with the system, which is that not everybody would have watched everything, and then they would have been voting on something that they haven't watched. And even how you get them to the short list of the films that go on there, it's people go, you know what? I like the sound of that film. I'm going to go watch that film. That film, I don't know about that. Maybe I won't watch it. And so then you already have a problem of what films get into the short list because something doesn't look like somebody's cup of tea. They don't go watch it. So
it doesn't even get considered.
Yeah, so it has issues. But hey, well done, Bong Joon-ho.
Yes.
I think I agree more with the screenplay award that Parasite won than I do with the director one, because I think the story of Parasite and the construction of that story, amazing. But I feel like as a director and what Sam Mendes had to sort of marshal to get 1917 made, I think it's more impressive. Right. Best actor in a supporting role. Our winner was Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
Finally, he wins he's won an Oscar before, but finally he's won one for acting. So Al Pacino.
What did he win his other one for? I can't remember. Was it producing?
He was a producer on 12 Years a Slave.
Right.
Yeah, because that was produced by his Plan B production company. Best actor in supporting role, we had Brad Pitt, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Al Pacino in The Irishman, Joe Pesci in The Irishman, Tom Hanks, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and Anthony Hopkins in The Two Popes.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Of those two, I actually did rate Tom Hanks in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yeah.
I thought that was a subtle performance. We're used to sort of Tom being Tom, he's a nice guy, so he can play a nice guy without any effort. But I thought there was subtlety in that he can convey someone's goodness without making it seem fake.
Yeah.
And I think people can convey sort of evil, they can convey anger, they can convey some of these darker emotions. But I think playing someone who is genuinely good, I think it's probably quite hard, because you can make them not real, or you can make them seem fake.
Yeah.
And so I think there was, again, we use that word, I think there was subtlety in his performance that I appreciated. And you get the feeling that, this Mr. Rogers was who he pretended to be, but what you saw was what you actually got.
Yeah.
And I thought to convey that with sincerity, I think it's probably harder than we would probably think. So I did rate Tom Hanks's performance as Mr. Rogers.
Oh.
But I did like Brad Pitt as well. I liked, again, this sort of, I suppose you can say he's like an aging Hollywood stuntman, isn't he, in the film? and Brad Pitt, he's still a very handsome man, and I think, but he's embracing his maturity in a sort of different way. And in this film, he was. I thought he's best he's been for a long time.
Yeah. I think so too. But I think a bit like, how you say Tom Hanks can do nice guy in his sleep. I felt like Brad Pitt can do cool guy in his sleep. And, And in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he was the main essence of his character of Cliff Booth is he's cool. He's cool.
Yes.
And I thought the
even down to his like moccasins. Yeah, he's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought the subtlety in the film, like, you know, you talk about Tom Hanks saying like you can be nice, but it doesn't feel like a lie. It doesn't feel like it's twee or anything like that. And I think the subtlety with Brad Pitt's performance is he's cool, but he's also quite dangerous.
You never. I did love the scene with Bruce Lee in that film. That I thought that was just for me was the best scene in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, I quite like that scene. Even though people did have issues with it, I don't quite agree with a lot of the issues that people were complaining about with that scene. But I agree.
I don't think they're like sneering at Bruce Lee. I don't think it's sort of like sneering at him, but he was quite pompous, wasn't he, in some ways about how he would speechify quite a lot, and I thought that was just like the perfect response to it. So even though I'm a fan of Bruce Lee, I did like that scene particularly.
Yeah.
I went to see this film with my brother, and so we both did sort of chuckle at that particular bit. We thought that was funny.
Yeah. So I think this was probably.
So on the whole, I'm pleased with Brad Pitt. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was probably one of the most even things where I was like, yeah, whatever. I was like, whichever one of them wins, all that. Nice to see Joe Pesci and Al Pacino back up there as well. Best Actress in Supporting Role. Laura Dern was our winner for Marriage Story. Margot Robbie was nominated for Bombshell. Florence Pugh for Little Women. Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit. Her again. Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell. Now, if you haven't seen Richard Jewell, have you?
No.
Yeah. But Shaun and I, when we both said it, we said Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell. Really? Well, what's going on here? And it almost feels like, oh yeah, she came back and she did something. Let's give her a nomination.
Yeah.
But I don't think it
wasn't.
There isn't much to that role. Scarlett Johansson is really good, really affecting in Jojo Rabbit. You've seen it, right?
Yes. Yeah. Again, I thought it was good, but I wouldn't have said, wow, that's an Oscar-winning performance.
Same here.
I thought it was perfectly competent, but I didn't quite buy her accent. But then I think that was part of the deliberate thing about that film, wasn't it? That they didn't have to do perfect German accents. It was like hinting at a Germanic accent.
Yeah, there were sort of like slight inflections of German. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't quite buy her accent, but I liked the film. I liked her role in it, but no, I wouldn't have said, wow, that was an amazing performance. You deserve an Oscar for that. So I'm not surprised she didn't win. I did rate Florence Pugh, but I haven't seen all the other roles, so all the other performances. So Laura Dern, I get the feeling that people liked what she did in Marriage Story, so well done her. I liked what she's been doing in Big Little Lies recently. She's suddenly sort of had a bit of a resurgence in her career, hasn't she? Where she has
in the last sort of like 5 years or something like that. She's popped up in Star Wars. She's just showing up in all these things. She popped up in that film Wild with Reese Witherspoon. And it's just kind of as if people are just beginning to realize, you know what, Laura Dern is pretty cool. And this, I think she's gone through that. Sorry to interrupt, Tosin. No,
I think she's gone through that thing with an older actress where she's like come through the other side of that awkward age, if that makes sense, because she's moved out of that. She's not the young woman anymore, but she's moving into that. I'm still glam and I've still got it, but I'm a woman of a certain age. So I think she's transitioned into that role, and I think she'll probably, she will see her around more often. But there's some actresses who sort of come into they're popular and they're young and beautiful.
Yeah.
And then they sort of fade, and then some of them, find a new role. They find their new niche for themselves. And I think she's one of those actresses who's found it.
I would say, you said that she's glam. I'll say, yeah, my God, she's glam. But
yeah.
And but the person whose career trajectory this reminds me of is actually Matthew McConaughey. How he was just sort of like, people had consigned him to the rubbish heap, quite frankly. It's like, go make rubbish rom-coms. And then, you're getting a bit old for that now, aren't you? Then he started making all these interesting choices and showing up on all these weird things. It started off with with Laura Dern with Big Little Lies, an HBO TV show with True Detective. and built,
and he was in like Mud and
yep.
What was that? Was it Killer Joe? He did
Killer Joe,
where it takes his character that we all know and gives it a twist, and you're thinking, there's more to him than just the all right, or that malarkey.
Yeah.
So he's, and like with Magic Mike again.
Yeah, Magic Mike was a big one.
His old character, and sort of given it a little twist to the dark side with him, I think. So that made me think, actually, there's more to you than we thought.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a bit like what's happening with Laura Dern at the moment. People are beginning to realize, oh yeah, sure enough, she was in Jurassic Park. Sure enough, she was in all those films like with David Lynch when she was younger. But then people actually begin to realize, hang on a second, no, wait, chill. She's a really good actor.
Yeah, she can do her stuff. She knows her stuff. Yeah.
So when I think about Marriage Story, I'm trying to think about scenes, and I guess it's like a subtle performance. This is the kind of thing, right, that makes me feel she won it, and a lot of people in the showbiz have been through divorces. And I reckon that they probably recognize the character she was playing because she plays a divorce lawyer. I think they probably recognize the character she was playing. I'm going, oh my God, yeah, that's so spot on. And that is what, because for someone like me who has not been and hopes to never be through a divorce, I'm just watching it as a performance and going, oh yeah, that's pretty good, but what's different to what she does to what somebody does in an episode of Law and Order? But and once again disrespectful. I'm sorry, but yeah. All right, best international film, and this is where we are going to be like, yeah, we have failed. Because the only film on this list that we've seen is Parasite. So but then again, from what we were speaking about, that means we could be Academy voters, and based on the fact that we've seen one film, we could vote, and we could say, yes, Parasite is the best international feature film. But this was probably the most obvious thing that was going to happen all night, that Parasite was going to win.
It'd be interesting to see the French Les Miserables. I would be interested to see that, and because, it brings a country making its own stories, I think, brings a certain nuance to these films. That whereas always seen someone else's interpretation of Les Mis, it's always been like the musical or BBC dramas or Hollywood version. And I don't think I've actually seen a French-made version of Les Mis, so I'd be interested to see that one. I think it's pretty. The others, I honestly haven't heard of any of the others.
Me neither. I've heard of none of them, apart from Pain and Glory. I've heard of none of the other films. Which is
Corpus Christi, Honeyland. Don't know what they are.
Which is a bit sad, but I think because there was a film called Sweet Francais with Michelle Williams that was made a couple of years back, and I remember watching the film. I remember watching it going, ugh, I think this would have been much better if it was actually made in French. If this was actually made by French people,
yes,
it would have had,
because it would that resonance with that. Yes, absolutely.
As it was, and
these things leave a long shadow, don't they? These events that they make films about. I think especially like with Street Francais, that does leave a long shadow. Because I know in some villages, I've got friends who've got houses in France, and they still talk about, collaborators. Yeah. And even some of the elderly people, when the really elderly die, they were saying collaborator, especially the women. They were tarred with that for the rest of their lives.
I get you.
If they had any relationships with the Germans, or even if they were suggested that they had a relationship with the German, that followed them for the rest of their lives. In the same way that the butcher and the baker and the ironmonger, that didn't happen to the men, but the women, they were like these sort of jerry bags or whatever for the rest of their lives. So I would think, I would definitely want to see that one made by a French filmmaker, to say there were consequences for these women that didn't just last till the end of the war. Yeah, they went on for decades. So that would be an interesting one.
Yeah. Right. Oh, okay. Shall we get a move on?
Let's move on.
There are a lot of categories of the Oscars. Okay, best adapted screenplay, won by Jojo Rabbit, The Irishman, Little Women, Two Popes, Joker. This is one that I probably would have given to Little Women.
Yes, I think she did something interesting with Little Women.
I really do think she did.
Yeah, because a lot of, even if you're a bit of a purist like me, when you see a literary adaptation, you want to see the book on the screen. Mm-hmm. That's what draws you in. And she sort of put a little bit of Louisa May Alcott on the screen, sort of the writer. So it was the story, and it was also how the story came into being in many ways. So the ending was all about, I would say, what goes far beyond where the book goes.
Oh, yeah.
So part of me, the purist in me, is going, just make an adaptation of the book. That's what you're there for. But then another part of me appreciates that it's like, okay, we've had that before. I mean, if you want a more or less a straightforward adaptation, watch Winona Ryder's version with Susan Sarandon. That's a perfectly competent, good version of the book.
Yeah.
But if you want something like with, Little Women Plus, then this is the film for you, because it takes that story and it gives you layers that that you wouldn't necessarily would find in a normal straight book to screen adaptation.
And I actually think this film, or along with Queen and Slim, because Queen and Slim is like my atrocity of the year, which is no, not the film. The film's, I love the film, but I mean the idea that the film is not at the Oscars, that
it was omitted,
any category whatsoever, that for me is my atrocity of the year, that Queen and Slim is not here. But those are two films that I feel like Little Women, and they've gone, okay, what times do we live in now? What are the hot topics? And there's things in this story we're going to tell that are going to touch on it, but we're going to do it in a way that isn't preachy, that isn't kind of like, whoa, obviously, if you have a brain, this is what you should do. But and I think the way Queen and Slim does that with race relations, and the way Little Women does that with representation for women and women having their own agency, I really, really like. And so for that, I think the fact that she took that source material and she managed to pull those themes out of it while still being faithful to the source novel, and then at the end just sort of putting a sort of social commentary pretty much that says we need to recognize the woman who came up with this story. I quite like that, and I thought it was a very, very delicate balancing act that she pulled off in that. So I think for best adapted screenplay,
I think it did work.
I was really, really hoping Little Women would get that. Best original screenplay, Parasite won that. Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Knives Out, and 1917.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bit of me that would have really loved Knives Out to have won it. I think I would have. The thing is, if Knives Out had won it, I don't think I would have agreed, but I would have been really, really happy.
Yeah.
It would have been like when you're watching a football match and your team plays rubbish and then manages to score like a goal, nick a goal in like the 85th minute, and then hold on and win the game, even though you know that you should not have won that game. You're still really, really happy, but we should really have won that. And I think that's how I felt about Knives Out. I was like, I'll be really happy if it wins, but I probably don't think. I think for original screenplay, I do think Parasite is a deserved winner there, because it is like,
yes, it is original.
Story wise, it's like, well, wow. Yeah. I haven't seen this before. I don't know whether that's how they make films in Korea, but this stands out. Then going on to best animated feature film, this was it was not a feature yet. Toy Story 4 won it. Toy Story 4, I did like it. It was good. I do not understand how on earth How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World is on this list. I do not understand this, and I know I'm the animation guy on this podcast, so I'm not going to go off on one, but that film was not good. I'm sorry, it wasn't. Missing Link was way better.
We respect your experience in this category, because I have none in this category.
Yeah,
but even I was looking at this list and thinking, I've only actually heard of two of those, which is How to Train Your Dragon, because I'm aware of that there's a franchise and there's a load of books about it, and I've seen Toy Story 4, which I personally, as it was my animation of the year, I don't really count Frozen 2, because that was,
yeah.
I was,
I was actually quite happy that I was quite hoping that Frozen 2 was not on this list, even though I would put it happened and I've moved on. Yeah, but I think Toy Story 4 for me, that's the only one I'd actually have seen, and I was like, I loved it. It was my animation of the year, so let the Oscar have it. It was, I was like, it was the only one I saw, and like most Oscar voters, that qualifies me to say, that's a worthy winner.
Close enough for me.
Well, I saw Missing Link. So that was like a stop motion animation thing from Laika Studios, who did Kubo and the Two Strings. That Missing Link is quite good. It's like a sort of old fashioned adventure story. I Lost My Body and Klaus. Those are both Netflix movies. They're both on Netflix, and I have them on my list, and I haven't seen them. But animated feature. We'll move on.
Did you think there were any omissions, though? As you are our expert in this subject, did you think there was a glaring omission where you thought, hey, that was a really good piece of art, and animated art. Do you think there was an omission this year that you think could have had a nod that didn't get it?
No.
Okay.
The long and short of it is no, because you say that. I'm actually trying to think. Well, what animated movies did I see in the last year that were particularly sort of standouty, and I can't really think of any. Oh, Shaun the Sheep, Farmageddon.
Yes. That would have been fun.
That would have been fun. I mean, I know. Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit won an Oscar. So, but Shaun the Sheep, essentially, it's like a kids movie, and I think most people thought of it as a kids movie. But everybody I know who's watched it has said, "Oh no, it is so clever and it's so cine literate as well." So yeah, I think Shaun the Sheep is a bit of an omission there. Best documentary, we had American Factory winner, Edge of Democracy, Honeyland, For Summer, The Cave. Seen none of them. Although For Summer is now on Channel 4, on the Channel 4's online website. And For Summer sounds worthy in the best sense of the word. For Summer sounds crazy in the best sense of the word. So that's something I'm looking forward to watching. But and
Honeyland appeared as one of the best foreign features. So obviously it's a documentary and a
oh really?
Feature film.
That's the same film.
That was. I'm sure it is. It's got the same. Yes, it's the same film.
All right.
Best foreign language film and best documentary. So okay, so that isn't a drama that I thought it was. So it's a dramatic documentary, obviously.
Oh, interesting. Oh, now this is why we need to find out, where can we watch these things?
Yes, let's just get them out there.
I'm gonna go speak to Elena. We're gonna be like, Elena, where can we watch these things? Why are they not anywhere? This is why Netflix is gonna win.
Yes, ultimately it's gonna pip you to cinema domination.
Yeah, pretty much. But the headline from this category is that now Barack and Michelle Obama are now Oscar winners.
Yeah.
Because they made the American Factory documentary. Yeah, look at that. Total overachievers. Anyway, best documentary short subject. This is where Elena won in learning to skateboard in a war zone if you're a girl. The title intrigues me. I have no clue what this is about. In the absence is another film, Life Overtakes Me, St. Louis Superman, Walk, Run, Cha-Cha. Don't know any of them about because they don't have... No. Essentially, there's a lot of short subject films that you only hear about when you see at the Oscars. Apart from that, for the rest of the year, where do you watch these films? You have to be like a film festival buff addict to have seen most of these films. But I think they need to change that. Best animated short film, Hair Love was the winner. Dakera or Dachera, daughter, Kitbull, memorable sister. Once again, animated short films. Don't know any of them. Hair Love, well done. I like the title, but then again,
sounds good.
It might not be what I'm thinking of.
But that's quite topical, isn't it? Because we've had this thing in the news this week in Britain about Afro hair.
Yes.
Or people of African descent.
Yes.
The fact, is it by asking mixed race girls or black girls to say you need to control the size and the width and the dimensions of your hair? Is it time we sort of embrace the different cultural backgrounds of our students and our women and saying that this is natural, let's go with the natural and not try to have put one sort of ethnic conformity on another group where you're sort of is it suppression by saying to girls in school your hair's too big when it's their natural hair?
Hair Love's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Hair Love's on YouTube.
Oh, good.
The whole thing's on YouTube. I just found it.
But quite topical. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why I thought from the title, that's exactly where my mind went. I thought, okay, this sounds like the kind of thing where it's talking about black people and their hair and the relationship with their hair and how it's been used to sort of shame, control, all that stuff. There's this weird undercurrent when it comes to black people's hair that by trying to control their hair, you're trying to control them, and you're trying to make them become something other than black, or you're trying to make them become European or something like that. And so I was actually filming at an event called Beyond Hair last weekend in Birmingham, and it was all about from the starting point of hair, trying to empower black women. And it is a big, massive topic. So once I saw that title, I was like, oh, I think this is what this film's about. I'm glad that...
We need to watch that.
Yeah, I'm glad that's what this film is about. And I'm glad... I just typed it into Google to find out what it was about. And I was like, oh my God, it's on YouTube. So I'm going to take 6 minutes, 48 seconds after this to watch that
one as well. Yeah.
And see whether we can find any other thing that is actually on YouTube from the best animated short films.
And the whole thing, you may have experienced this as well, about people touching your hair. If your hair grows out, do people try to touch your hair?
Oh Lord! Well, the thing is, like, as long as I tell people that it's okay to touch my hair, I have no problem with that, because the way I look at it, it is like education, and people will have questions when you see something that you've never seen before. You're going to have questions, and by saying, "Okay, cool, have a go, touch it," you are getting educated now. And now you understand that this is because I remember there was one of my friends who, when he went, "Oh, it's a bit like pubic hair, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Dude."
Oh.
Yeah, I'm like, no, you don't. But at least you're educating somebody about it.
Yeah.
So they don't just look at it and come up with examples like, "Oh, it looks like a microphone" or something like that. You don't get that. I mean, the weirdest thing I did have was once when I was traveling in Vietnam, and I was on a bus. I was going to the Cu Chi tunnels, and I was on a bus, and there were some ladies who, from the language they were speaking, I couldn't quite place it, but it was either Korean or Japanese, who were on the bus with me. And I fell asleep on the bus, and I woke up to one of them touching my hair and just sort of like essentially sponging her hand in my hair. And I was like, "What?" And I looked behind me, and I'm like, what the heck? And she was like just smiling at me, going out and nodding. And I looked at some of the other friends she was with, and she was like, "Oh yeah," and indicating, "You have a go. Come on."
We've all had a feel.
It's like, you have a go. Look at it. Oh, it's so different. And that is kind of, that's just like a smorgasbord of, like, cultural differences clashing up against each other.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of the things, well, okay, because that was weird. We don't speak the same language, so I can't tell you, please don't do that. But I can just sort of wake up, smile at you, and then move away. And just so you know, I wasn't happy with that. So, but...
just please don't do that. Yeah, because you wouldn't do that. Because, I mean, I've got my hair, is, you've seen my hair.
Yeah.
It sort of pings in all different directions, and it has a life of its own. But no one ever touches my hair.
Yeah.
It's just not something that culturally people would say, "Oh, look, your hair goes in every direction."
You see, but
and they just wouldn't touch it.
That's because you're used to it. Well, that's because they're used to it. Like, I remember growing up in Nigeria, and there was a Canadian man called Mel something who was staying with us because it was like a Rotary thing. My dad was a member of the Rotary Club. And so they had this Rotary thing where people from Canada came to Nigeria. He was staying with us. And when he went out, he was wearing shorts, and he had hairy legs. And we don't really have many people in Nigeria who have massively hairy legs or become massively hairy. And so when he was walking around about the place, people were staring at him, and all the kids on the road were running up and pulling the hair on his legs as he was walking past them. Yeah. So I mean, there is that element, and I understand that element of, I have never seen that before. I am mega curious. What the heck is that? I understand that, but I do feel like there's a way to do it in which is insulting, and there's a way to do it in which is actually sort of educating and you learn. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So, best live action short film. The Neighbor's Window.
We'll watch that.
Oh, no. That was animation.
Yep.
But best live action short film, once again, I do not know what this one's at.
Yeah, The Neighbor's Window. No, I don't know any of those.
Yeah. Brotherhood, NEFTA, Football Club, Saria, A Sister. Maybe these are all on YouTube. Maybe that's I'm just going to put this on and see where they can find all these.
If they're short, it's like they might be there.
They might be on YouTube. But then how do they qualify for? Never mind. But it's probably somewhere in some bylaws. Anyway, best film editing. This, I always wonder about what count. How do you do this? How do you? But anyway, maybe that's just what the editors vote for. So Ford versus Ferrari won it. The Irishman, Parasite, Joker, and Jojo Rabbit. Now, Ford versus Ferrari.
But 1917 wasn't nominated for that, and I would have thought that was a film that a good editing would have made a huge amount of difference in a film like that. But
that's actually quite true.
Hey.
Well, I think 1917, technically speaking, probably has about at most maybe 20 edits in the film, but they're just very, very subtly done. But and a lot of the stuff is in camera, so I can understand why maybe they wouldn't have. But Ford versus Ferrari, I can understand because the editing, because I think editing, when it's done properly, it gives you a sense of place and it gives you a sense of feeling of what is actually going on. And I think for the race scenes in Ford versus Ferrari, especially if you're not a racer, the fact that they managed to let you know this is what's going on, this is what the stakes are. This is why it's important that this guy drives that car really, really fast, and this is what's on the line. I think I can understand that. There's a lot of the storytelling in Ford versus Ferrari is editing.
Right.
So yeah, okay, cool. I'm fine with that. I don't know why the Irishman's on there.
It's 3 hours of not editing by the sounds of it.
Oh wow. Wow, you were vicious today. Anyway, best cinematography. Roger Deakins.
Yay.
For 1917. This was a film.
We need to stand up and salute the flag for that one, I think, don't we?
Yes, we do. It's like you wait 17 years for a bus and then 2 come along at once. So he has been nominated something like 13 times for best cinematographer and never won. Then eventually he won it for Blade Runner 2049, in which I have to say I think was not that strong a year. But then once I saw 1917, I was like, yeah, he's going to win it. You've got to. Yeah, he's got to. I mean, look at what we're watching. Are you looking at what I'm looking at? How the hell did he do this?
Yeah.
And I think 1917 was the only film I saw this year that you seriously sitting out there going, how the hell did they film this? How the hell did they make this work? So I think that's
especially the bits in the river. It's like, how did they sort of track all that in the river without seemingly to cut from him? It's like, how did you?
Yeah, I mean, there's videos on YouTube of like essentially behind the scene things about how they filmed 1917, and it is as fascinating as the film itself. Just seeing how they pulled this thing off. So yeah, Roger Deakins, yes, good. Now, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because you look at the other ones, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, Joker, and The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse is the only one I haven't seen on that list. Even though
no, I want to see that one because it looks intriguing, but I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, Holly reviewed it last week, and she was like, you know what? All I want for my birthday is for somebody to come in and explain to me what was going on in this film, because I don't understand. I don't understand anything that happened in that film, but it did look beautiful. So yeah, best original song. Oh, now this is contentious.
Is that Elton?
It was won by Elton John for a song I totally do not remember.
No, I remember seeing that film, and I don't remember that song
I do not remember that song at all. I don't even remember it as a... So, okay, this was an original song that was written for the film Rocket Man, based on his life, which was mostly a jukebox musical of his songs that he'd written throughout his career. And usually when that happens, if there's a song that is a new song, you sit down and you go, hang on a second, that's not one of the standards. Where did that come from? I don't know that one. That's a new one, which happens. They did that with Lion King with that Spirit song.
Yawn.
Good Lord. Yeah. They did that with Aladdin with the Speechless.
The Shout It one. I Won't Be Silent. Yeah, that one, whatever.
I Won't Be Silent. Yeah, which was, whatever. But you noticed it. This song that has apparently won the best original song, I do not even remember it from the film. Was it like an end credits film, a song? Because sometimes they throw them in there, don't they? And you think, was it the one that they played as we were leaving the cinema? I don't know.
Because I can't remember it at all.
If it was the one that they played when they're leaving the cinema, then I do not think it should win best original song. Sorry. I think it should be part of the film in some way. But anyway.
Yeah. So
I'm Standing With You from Breakthrough. Never even heard of Breakthrough. Into the Unknown from Frozen 2. Good song.
Yeah, righto. Okay.
Good song, but I'm guessing they thought, we can't give Let It Go a thing and then give this one a thing as well. I was really, even without ever hearing the song, I was really hoping that Stand Up from Harriet would win, because it's sung by Cynthia Erivo. And if she had won this, she would have completed her EGOT.
Oh, yes, that would have been nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, she would have got an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. I would have quite liked it. And I can't let you throw yourself away from Toy Story 4. Don't remember the song, but I do remember it being really affecting in a scene. So
yeah.
So I'm gonna say, yeah, why on earth couldn't you give it to Stand Up so that we could have someone who got an EGOT? You guys suck.
Yeah.
But best visual effects, 1917 was the winner. Avengers Endgame was nominated. The Lion King, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, and The Irishman. Now, I think that is a pretty big hitting category.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty big hitting category, and I think this is one thing in which subtlety won out. Because 1917 has a lot of visual effects, but you do not notice them while you're watching the film. Because they are all sort of like seamlessly integrated, so you don't realize that they're there. Like the plane wasn't there.
Yeah.
I mean, and Avengers Endgame, that was the only thing it got nominated for. I think people were going, well, you're the most successful film of all time, go away.
Yeah, what do you need a gong for? They're not gonna.
I'm not happy with Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker winning anything, so I'm happy that
it didn't.
Yeah, I'm happy that it didn't. The Lion King, I mean, the whole film was a visual effect. So,
yeah.
Arguably, that should have been in the animated category, but hey. It's a new world. Best production design. Now, we're getting onto the kind of thing where I'm not entirely sure what these Oscar awards actually mean. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won. The Irishman, 1917, Jojo Rabbit, Parasite. I guess it's just like whether you believe the world that they're in. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was brilliant for that. Best makeup and hairstyling. Bombshell won. You had Joker, Judy, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. Who would have thought that would be an Oscar nominee? And 1917. If for nothing else, for Charlize Theron playing Megyn Kelly in Bombshell, I think that's what's won this film this Oscar.
Yeah, because she didn't quite look like herself, but she didn't look plastic either. So. Hey, kudos for that.
Well, if you look, have you looked up pictures of the real Megyn Kelly?
No.
Yeah, if you do, it's a little unsettling.
Yeah,
it's a little unsettling what they've done with that. And I remember watching Bombshell, and because Bombshell starts off with a dark screen, and then you just hear the voice, and I was like, "What the heck?" Because Megyn Kelly sounds nothing like Charlize Theron, and at the beginning when they had the dark screen and just the voice playing, I thought that they were playing actual recordings of Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
I was like, no, wait, really? That's Charlize Theron. Oh my, that is amazing what she's done with her voice in that film. So unfortunately, there's no Oscar for that. Best costume design, Little Women won that. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker. I'm just glad that people were not giving Joker awards by this time, and I'm glad that Little Women won something because it is a gorgeous looking film with gorgeous looking people dressed in gorgeous looking outfits. Best sound mixing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, this is a bit like the editing thing again. Ford for Ferrari won it. You had 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Ad Astra, and Joker. And I reckon, right, that this is one of those things that it's only when you start dabbling in that particular dark art that you actually understand what they're on about. So, because there's things that I know there's things when I watch TV, and because I edit videos for a living, the thing when I watch TV and I'm like, oh, clever.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Everybody around me is like, what happened? And I'm like, you didn't see that? Oh, clever. And people are like, what are you on about? And it's not until you. So I reckon that this is what it comes with sound mixing, that people will watch it and go, how did they do that? How did they get that? But Ford versus Ferrari, obviously a very technically well-made film. Best sound editing, 1917 won it. We had Ford. Yeah,
good.
Yeah, happy with that. Ford versus Ferrari was not up for that again. Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. See, now this is the thing. I'm still best sound mixing and best sound editing. I mean, what's the? Never mind. Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. As I said, I'm happy that he didn't win anything. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Joker. So yeah, well done, 1917. And I think the final one that we have here is the best original score. Sharon, you want to have a go at saying the winner's name?
I'm just trying to find it on my list because here we go. Yes, let's go with that one. Hilda.
Yes, I
Hilda agree. Gudnadottir.
Gudnadottir. Hilda Gudnadottir.
Yeah.
She's Finnish,
I'll go with that.
I think she's Finnish.
Hilda Gudnadottir. Yeah, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, either Finnish or Icelandic. But yeah, she won it, and well, I think that the score of Joker is one of those things that you look at and you say, but essentially because the score for the film was written before the film was made, which is actually quite.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to do. It's quite difficult to do that, and I'm impressed with that.
I remember the music choices, as in the songs, rather than the actual score.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember sort of thinking the choices of, like, especially like the Gary Glitter song that would made a lot of publicity over here, because we know Gary Glitter's story, don't we?
Yeah.
And so when you hear his music, you instantly you're feeling slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So you think that's a clever choice of music, placing that in that scene, because what you see and what you hear creates not the obvious mood in a certain audience. So that I thought that was very clever about their music choice, but that's not the score necessarily. So
yeah.
I think it was again,
the score is
probably
very
more
unsettling.
subtle than the film was. Yeah, it was more subtle, and for that reason that you heard that descent into madness, as well as saw it. So yeah, that was a clever piece of inspired.
Yeah, bit of stuff. Then we have Thomas Newman. I think that was 1917. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then Little Women, Alexander. Is this Desplat or Desplat? I don't know.
Desplat. I have no idea.
Desplat. Marriage Story, Randy Newman. That is a good score. This music choices in Marriage Story are quite good. And Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I know it's John Williams. We love him and he's a legend, but I'm still happy that Star Wars didn't win anything. So, and that was it. I think all in all, generally speaking, a bit kind of like, well, for the big ones, it was like, yeah, whatever. It's not sure what this was all about.
Yeah, I don't think there's any real surprises. There's a few where you're going, really? But I don't think there were that many you'd say genuinely, that was a shocker.
Oh, no, there weren't like, if there were any surprises, there were good ones as opposed to bad ones.
Yeah.
So,
because some years you go, wow, okay, did you see the same film I saw?
Yeah,
but this year I didn't have that feeling so much, not with all of them anyway.
Well, I did with the nominations when they nominated Joker for like everything. I was like, what?
Yes, do you think?
I know last year.
Is that the same Joker?
I know. Last year I had issues with Green Book. Last year. I was like, really, best film.
I think sometimes the best film especially with the Oscars, I think, because like for things like going back a long time now, but I haven't got over it. It's like Braveheart. I think, really, was that the best film? And so some of their choices, you think, no, history has shown that you were not right on that one.
Okay, now the thing is, Braveheart came out around about the time when I was getting into my film buffery, and I loved Braveheart, and and that was before I was living in the UK, so I did not understand the problems that Scottish people might have with it, and the fact that you had Australian of American origin or American of Australian origin playing a Scottish man with an accent that I didn't get any of that. So just as a film, I loved Braveheart, and I think Braveheart got me into sort of like more serious filmmaking. Going, oh my word!
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So it will.
For that reason, okay, I forgive it.
So it has. I can't remember what else was up that year. I don't think that wasn't the same year as Schindler's List. I think that was Schindler's List was the year with Forrest Gump. I can't remember what was up against Braveheart, but I do remember thinking when Braveheart won, going, yeah, maybe there is something to this Oscar stuff. And now, like, 25 years later, I'm like, oh no, it's all a sham.
Okay, now I get it.
It's all a sham. It's all smokes and mirrors. It's all people watching one film and then voting for 15. So, right, cool. I think that is the end. That is the end of our Oscars reaction. So,
yes, we
will be back next week with our usual Netflixy stuff. Where, Sharon, you said that there's some stuff you've seen this week that you're going to be talking about next week.
Yes, I have I will have a list of films by then. Do you want to spoil it, or shall I?
No, go ahead. Tell us what we have to look forward to.
Well, I have seen Birds of Prey already, with Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Mm-hmm. It's got a subtitle that's very, very long, and I can't remember.
The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
That's the one. And I am going to see a Jane Austen adaptation, Emma, tomorrow night.
Ooh, yes. I may have to see some of those films.
Yeah, from the I don't know if you go to the sublime to the ridiculous, but I think that probably will be. I don't know which way round it will be, depending on how I like Emma. So we will see. So,
right.
And on Netflix, I have seen a Norwegian drama called Ragnarok.
Oh yeah, my brother was watching that.
Yeah, and I have gone back in time a long, long way to see a film from the 1980s called The Hiding Place, revisiting, because I was thinking in the whole Auschwitz sort of thing, I would watch a film about the concentration camp. So this was about a woman's experience in Ravensbrück.
All right.
So I thought I'd go, so I've done some completely different. I was based in Holland. So I've got some completely off-the-wall things for my Netflix choices for next week. So far I've got 2 of each. Well, I will have 2 of each.
All right, good. And I will go and watch some things and then get back and let you know what I thought. Right.
And Shaun will have about 20 from being on the flights that he's been on various flights. So he will have a list of 20 long. Yeah. I am sure.
Oh, we might have to do another. We might have to do another 2-parter next week.
Shaun special.
Okay. All right. Until that time, thank you so much for listening all the way to this point. And it's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
And we will speak to you guys next week. Bye.